The Brazil report is really a story about the vast web of interstitial soft power institutions that situate themselves between the State Department and the CIA. Again, whenever you hear State Department, think CIA and Pentagon. Whenever you hear Pentagon, think State Department and CIA. Whenever you hear CIA, think Pentagon and State Department. All three of them are together, and each of them play a different role in the control and influence of information in a society. The State Department does overt information control through funding direct grants to institutions involved in media. Now, we still call those free and independent media, but they are not. They are government-backed media. The Pentagon is involved in information control through its psychological operations. And the Central Intelligence Agency is the underside of the State Department that does information control and influence, stories, propaganda, and now censorship work through covert activity. So you have overt activity from the State Department, psychological operations from the Pentagon, and covert activity from the Central Intelligence Agency. Now, situated between the State Department and the CIA are a vast web of what we call soft power institutions. And soft power institutions are the alternative to hard power. We have hard power, which is what governed interstate power in the Age of Empire in the medieval period, all the way up through the Industrial Age, all the way up until the end of World War II. When empire was declared to come to an end, we set up the rules-based international order, and what came out of that was a new way of empire through democracy. Democracy is nominally about the hearts and minds of people, determining the government rather than a military junta. But what happens when a government doesn't do what you like? Or what happens when another military is threatening to you or your control over natural resources? And the easiest way to defeat that military is simply to regime change that country's government so that the newly installed leader can then stand down the military. Well, we created an apparatus to be able to wage soft power war starting in the late 1940s. So soft power is about control over hearts and minds and getting citizen groups in other countries to manipulate enough of the other country's population to be able to ultimately control its government. That is essentially the story of the Brazil situation through, at the top level, three organizations: the State Department, USAID, and the National Endowment for Democracy. The National Endowment for Democracy and USAID sit in between, essentially, the State Department and the CIA.